Little tip for you.
Yeah, Jake, and actually Mike Lawler has criticized that Second Avenue subway station, but we'll see what he has to say about this, because I think one thing that people have pointed out from that post from the budget director, Russ Vought, those states they're targeting is that they're all Democratic-led states or Democratic-led cities, and of course there's a lot of projects like that going on in Republican states, but clearly that is part of that pressure campaign that I was just talking about, Jake.
All right, thanks so much, Caitlin, and joining us now here in this House office building, Congressman Tom Cole. He's a Republican from Oklahoma. He's chair of the House Appropriation Committee. So good to have you here,
hey,
sir.
Great
Thank you
to be
so
here.
much.
Thanks for inviting me.
So you just heard Minority Leader Jeffries telling me he has not heard from the White House since Monday. Shouldn't there be just like constant, continuous conversations between the Democrats, the Republicans, and the White House?
Well, there are obviously quite a bit of conversations going on, but as far as the House is concerned, we've done our job. I mean, we have actually passed the legislation to keep the government. We're waiting to see what the Senate does, but that's really where the action's at. So I don't know that the president needs to be focused a lot on House members. We've made our decision. Now we're waiting for a reaction from the Senate.
So you have said you've taken issue with Democrats using the shutdown as leverage on items that you say are, quote, unrelated to day-to-day government funding. Isn't that, though, what Republicans did last time there was a shutdown in 2018?
It is, and it was a big mistake.
Okay.
And they should learn from how it worked out for us. Look, I've never been in favor of government shutdowns. I don't think they work. They never achieve the objective. And they create a lot of chaos and a lot of ill will. And I'm afraid that's what's happening now. But pretty proud of the House. We've gotten all of our bills out of committee. We've gotten 60% of the funding across the floor. We're in serious negotiations with our counterparts on a package of bills that we could get done and hopefully kick off a process where we actually got them finished. But and look, we've gotten a majority vote in each House, obviously not 60 in the Senate yet, but I don't blame them for chipping away at that.
So you note that the appropriations process is supposed to be completed by the end of September each year, before the government's fiscal year starts.
Correct.
In October. There are 12 separate appropriations bills supposed to be passed. 0 were passed through both chambers this year. As appropriations chair, do you take any responsibility for that?
Look, everybody has responsibility, but the reality is Congress was focused very heavily on the centerpiece of the president's
one big beautiful bill.
One big beautiful bill. But we got all our bills out of committee by September. And look, last year, I actually give the Senate a lot of credit this year. They've gotten 6 bills out of committee, 3 across the floor. Leader Schumer, when he actually led the Senate, didn't get a single appropriations bill passed. So we're moving in the right direction, but we need to keep the government open, keep negotiating in good faith, find common ground. I think we can do that.
You've mentioned your concern for the thousands of federal workers in your home state of Oklahoma. White House Budget Chair Chief Russ Vought warned a group of your colleagues today that some of these furloughed workers can end up being permanently fired, and that could actually take place in 1 to 2 days. The White House obviously is blaming Democrats for all of this, but do you think your constituents back home care about whose fault it is?
No, I think they care about their jobs, and they do important work. Most of them are civilian defense workers. We also have the National Weather Center. We've got the leading groundwater research laboratory from the EPA. Those are just in my district, and then there's a substantial federal presence. So we're concerned about that, but we know the best way to deal with that is to get the government open. Number one, if you don't want to enhance the power of the executive branch, you open back up Congress and you start passing appropriations bills. We think we're pretty close to doing that. Unfortunately, in our view, the Democratic leadership dropped in a lot of unrelated issues. We don't have jurisdiction over Medicaid on my committee. We don't have jurisdiction over tax policy, the Obamacare related COVID-era tax credits. What we do have jurisdiction over is the day-to-day operation of the government. We get about that, I think we can solve a lot of our problems.
Well, you brought up the subsidies. Obviously, the Democrats have asked for a number of items. Would Republicans giving on that one issue at least remove a potential political liability in terms of the Obamacare subsidies?
Well, first of all, some of those subsidies run out. Democrats actually wrote that legislation. They picked the date. The CR we're talking about doesn't even extend to that date. There certainly can be separate discussions on those. They don't belong in a 4-week CR. I mean, Democrats have asked for Republicans to guarantee them $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years for a 4-week extension of funding. That's just not going to happen. It's a ridiculous thing. But if you'll let the appropriators do their work, they'll start producing real bills that fund the government and fund it for a full year instead of a few